Hey guys, Griffin here. Today we're going to talk about the FTX fraud and why it matters for you. Before we get into it, I just wanted to point out that I'm doing a new thing with the set and the lighting setup. Leave a comment below if you think it looks good or if you've got some tips for me to make it a little better. I'm still pretty new to this. My girlfriend is a photographer, and so I stole her lights, and she always gets mad at me for taking horrible pictures, so at least I'll get something out of this for learning how to set something up and hopefully taking some better ones. So the first thing I want to talk about with the whole FTX fraud is why you should care, because a lot of people aren't necessarily directly affected by FTX. I wasn't involved in having any of my money on the exchange specifically. And if you're not necessarily a crypto person, you may not have any money involved in any of these things anyway. So you probably haven't cared other than just the fun drama that's come out of it with Sam and Carolyn, and maybe the whole harem that they've been running in the Bahamas and all sorts of fun, juicy tidbits like that, which has been a roller coaster to read. It just seems like every day there's a new thing that comes out that's worse than the last. So that has been very exciting. But other than that, you may think, well, this is all fun and games, but doesn't really affect me. And I'm here to tell you that that may not be the case per se. So first off, a lot of money was lost in this fraud. I'm not going to go over the specifics of the fraud here. I'll save that for my blog, which you can check out in the description below. And if you need like a full breakdown of what happened and kind of the overview step-by-step, I've gave a presentation on that to my coworkers that I've rehashed and updated for the blog. So feel free to go take a look at that if you need more information. This video is just going to pertain specifically to the effects that it's having on day-to-day life, as well as potentially your finances. So a lot of money was lost, and therefore a lot of trust was lost as well. And so I'm wearing my CoffeeZilla sweatshirt today for a reason. It says the blockchain doesn't lie. I'm sorry, it's mirrored there. But the reason I did that was because technically the blockchain was supposed to be this all-encompassing solution for allowing transactions to be tracked, and therefore you would know where the money is at all times. And clearly that didn't work here. That was a failed part of the FTX whole catastrophe, is that we had we had no capital controls in place at all, and nobody actually knew where their money was being held. In this case, at Alameda, being lost on risky financial trades and derivatives markets. So having crypto as a ledger and showing where your transactions are going didn't help us here in determining that this was a fraud. And that's one of the many damning pieces of evidence to come out of this that regulators will use to try to, potentially hamper the space if it's a little too heavy-handed of regulation. But crypto definitely needs something. The space in general has been home to so many fraudsters and just horrible things happening to people from financial sense and losing their money in NFTs and things like that. So there definitely needs to be a bit more policing than there is right now. And whether that's self-enforced or governmentally enforced, that's up for you to debate. But it's clear that all the shysters hang out in crypto because that's where the money is, right? And it's very easy to take everyone's money directly out of their wallet if they don't know what they're doing. And apparently it's even easier to just set up an exchange and take people's money directly from them. So this loss of trust is really bad for not just the industry as a whole on crypto, but it's also bad for other financial markets because venture capital invested a ton of money into FTX. And so what that means is, venture capital is not going to be as ready to invest in new crypto developments, which if you're in crypto does affect you. There will be some kind of trepidation from this, even if we figure out, it was just Sam being a horrible person and maybe some of his cohorts, right? Like there's still going to be a bit more hesitation from the people in the space that are trying to put money in. We're seeing that with the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust right now. They are trying, DCG, the owner of Grayscale Bitcoin, is trying to raise $500 million to pay off some bad debt that they have. And they are basically unable to do so. If you went back 6, maybe even 8 months ago, that would have been done in a heartbeat. There would have been no problems with that at all. So it's the environment that we're in, as well as the loss of trust, that is really impacting that. But also, if you have money in a bank, your bank could have been invested in FTX, and this may not directly affect you. Banks generally have very large capital reserves. But again, if you're involved in crypto, then it may make it more difficult for traditional financial institutions to invest in your crypto assets and pump the prices, if you will. So that's something to think about as well. But so the reason that this will potentially affect you directly and why it matters is that as this loss of trust has happened, the whole ecosystem is affected from a financial standpoint. And so much money was put into FTX that this is the biggest thing since Enron, right? This is a huge fraud. And people like the Tom Brady, the New England Patriots. It took me a second to think of his name for some reason. People like Tom Brady have lost a fortune on this, like his personal fortune. Kevin O'Leary was endorsing this. People all over YouTube are getting paid large sums to endorse this. And so that sort of trust has also been lost. Now all sorts of sponsor advertisements are being called into question from other companies even, because this financial contagion is going to spread, and it's going to take a lot of time for it to actually materialize. And I think people are misunderstanding. Oh, they think it's already over. A lot of things have happened. We've seen, the bankruptcy proceedings start already. Sam will be swiftly brought to justice, and this will all be swept over, right? People are especially in like the crypto sphere, tend to believe that. But I have a feeling that this is going to permeate throughout the traditional finance markets as well, because of how much money has been poured into this. And really the most damning thing from like a why you should care perspective is that US tax dollars were essentially funneled through this business by supporting Ukraine. And so this may or may not be a true assessment. However, I think as it comes out, we'll have more information in the coming years about whether or not this was actually the case, and this could be a huge scandal. Politicians and all sorts of establishments are already trying to distance themselves as much as possible from FTX in order to try and get rid of this stigma that has come from all this bad money. But essentially what could have happened is that as the United States was giving $40 billion to Ukraine to fight the war, Ukraine invested some of that money into FTX and was holding it on their exchange. And so what that means is that when Sam Bankman-Fried gave $300 million to politicians, that some of that money was probably funneled from the actual Ukraine war itself, right? Whether that was intentional or not, that's really what's up for debate here. The fact of the matter is it happened. And so whether you're on either side of the aisle, you should care about this, right? Because your money is being spent in a negligent way that is actually causing it to just go straight into the hands of politicians, right? And it's clear that politicians right now, at least, aren't necessarily doing the best job, and that things could be improved. And so if you care about where your money goes in the tax system, and you should, because it's a large portion of your income, this should offend you, just plain and simple. And so that's really the main reason why you should care, is misuse of everyone's money is really bad. And so this whole fallout from this massive fraud is going to take a while to materialize, and a while to figure out exactly what happened, because they kept no financial records. They were really good at what they were doing, which was scamming everyone. And this the financial contagion is going to take a while to spread too. I mean, it took 3 months from the fall of Voyager Digital that FTX had bought in order to try and keep this under wraps. in order for us to even figure out, that this was happening because of Binance collapsing the house of cards on them. And so it's going to take a while for us to figure out like how much was actually infected by FTX and how much bad debt there is now that can't be repaid. Because it's looking like there's at least a $10 billion deficit in their books, if not more. And so that is going to cause serious problems in the crypto industry at a time where money is very tight. And even if you're not invested particularly in the crypto industry, some of these things will come back to haunt you on the traditional finance side of things, be it less venture capital, less access to money, and less trust in just the general system. And so I just wanted to take some time today to talk about that because I think it's really important and being underreported. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them below and I'll be sure to get back to you. But I hope you enjoyed the video and let me know if this kind of content is something you'd continue enjoy to see. Thank you.